In this lesson, we'll take a look at the light burst effect, which works a little differently than the light rays effect that we looked at earlier. And we'll apply this effect to a text layer. So this will give us a chance to work with text in After Effects as well. So let's start with a blank, untitled project inside of After Effects. Let's first come up to the composition menu, choose New Composition. We'll name this Burst. For the width, let's set this down to 1000 pixels. Hit Tab. Let's set the height to 500. Make sure we have square pixels. And for the background color, let's come in here and make sure we're using a medium gray. So right about here, click OK. Click OK again. I'm going to make sure my composition panel is set to fit in window for the magnification. And so now let's come up and select the text tool in the toolbar. When we select the text tool, this is going to open the character and paragraph panels as well. And in the introduction video, we created a new graphic design workspace based off of the small screen workspace. So in that particular workspace, the character and paragraph panels will show up alongside of the effect controls. And if you don't see those two panels, you can select them from the window menu by going to Window and then selecting either character or paragraph. So I can see those panels over here on the right. So with the text tool selected, there are 3 ways that we can create text inside of After Effects. And they're the same ways that we can create text inside of Illustrator. If I come in here and click and drag, I can create what's called area text, which means I can start typing some characters, and when I type enough characters that get to the end of the line, the text will wrap to the next line. I'll hit the escape key. The second way is I can click one time and create point text, so I can come in here and start typing. And then the third way is to use text on a curve. So again, Illustrator does exactly these same text features. We're going to use point text. So I simply want to come in here and just click one time in the center, and then we want to type something so we can apply our burst effect. So I'm going to type graphic design in all caps. Once you type in your word, you can come up here and select the move tool. This will sort of commit the text to the composition. And with this selected, I'll come over here to the character panel. I'm going to click on the foreground swatch here. Change the color to white, click OK. Next I'll come down here to the type size. I'm going to click and drag and just scrub this up to make the text larger. So I'll increase this to 85 pixels, and then I'll come in here and click and drag this to the center of the composition. Now let's go down to the timeline panel. Let's select the text layer. Let's hit Command or Control D to duplicate that. For the duplicate, the layer on the top, let's come back to the character panel. Let's come in here and change the color to black. Let's click OK. And then let's come down here and hide the top layer. Let's select the bottom layer. This is the white text layer. I'll come in here and close my character and paragraph panels so I have more room. Then let's go to the Effects and Presets panel. Down in the search field, let's search for the word burst. And then down here, we'll see CC Light Burst 2.5, which is under the Generate group. So let's click and drag this, apply it to the text layer, and you'll see the results of the effect immediately. So in the effect controls, you can see all of the properties here. The first property is the center point. You can click on the numbers and change the horizontal or vertical center point. You can also come over to the stage, click on the target, and move this around. And this will give you a sense of what the effect is actually doing. So this differs from the light ray effect because in light burst, all of the pixels are being burst from the center point, as opposed to the light rays effect where the pixels are broadcast from the center point. So again, it just makes the effect a little bit different here. So let's leave the center point right here in the middle. So let's come back over here to the effect controls. Under the ray length, let's come in here and decrease the length of the rays. So as these get smaller, we see less of the effect. And then similarly, if I drag this up, we'll see the rays getting much larger. So I'll leave these up here around 150. Next is the burst type. The default is fade. If we change this to straight, we'll be able to read more of the original letters or see more of the original image showing up here. And then if we select center, we'll get a slightly different effect here. What's happening is the center point is in the middle or in the center of the foreground and background of the length of the ray. So for this to make more sense, let's leave the burst on center and let's come in here and change the ray length again. So as I increase and decrease this, you'll see that the beginning part of the text seems to be moving back in space, and the end of the burst is forward in space. So again, if I just move these back and forth, you can see what that effect looks like. So I'm going to put the right length back to 150. I'm going to change this back to fade. This just looks a little more natural. And then there is an intensity slider, and this is meant to work with the color setting. So if I come in here and choose set color, click on the swatch, maybe I'll make this green, click OK. And now if I go back to the intensity and set this down to 0, we're seeing 100% of the color that we set down here in the set color option. And if I come up here and increase the intensity, you'll see the center point of the light is affecting the way the color is applied throughout the entire effect. So for this lesson, I'm going to uncheck set color. And for the intensity, it doesn't matter what this is set to, so I'll put it back to 100. Again, intensity is only taking effect if we have a color set. And so now to complete our effect, let's go back to the timeline panel. Let's show that black text layer that we set up earlier. I'm also going to increase the size of my timeline panel here. And with the black text layer selected, let's add an outer glow to this. And these effects are just like the effects inside of Photoshop. So if I right click on the layer, come down to layer styles, let's come over and choose outer glow. And now to set the outer glow properties, we're going to set these inside of the timeline panel. So here we can see outer glow. Let's open up the options. And inside of here, again, just like Photoshop, we can change all the different properties for the outer glow. So up on the main stage, I'll come in here and just zoom in a little bit so we can see what's happening. Zoom into about right here. So down in the properties for outer glow, let's come in here and change the opacity from 75 down to about 35. So bring that right here. Let's come down here to the color. Click on the color swatch. We're going to set this to white. And then finally, let's scroll down. Let's find the size and let's increase the size up to 10. So I'll just type that in and then click away. And once you like the way the effect looks, you can get this over to Photoshop so you can use it in your projects by going up to the composition menu, going to save frame as, and then choosing Photoshop layers. And make sure that you are looking at the full screen resolution in the composition panel. Now we use this technique in 2 different social media advertisements. And in each case, we changed the center point of the light burst to match the photo in the background to make the effect more realistic.